Ay, ay, ay. Well, I'm back. I do apologise for the massive gap in videos over the last couple of weeks. I took a bit of a break.
You know how we do. You know how we do. You know how we do. This is how we do.
You probably didn't need to see that, but I might as well be honest. Today's video is actually a request I got off of Instagram. Someone had asked about the scene files in the HPX, and so that's what this video is. I'm going to take a deeper look at the HPX's scene files, talk about the ones I use, the settings I use, and some of the do's and don'ts of the scene files. Now, I'm obviously not a professional. I don't know the ins and outs of all of these settings. However, you should probably not even bother referring to the manual because it's very vague, as I will now demonstrate to you. Chroma Level. Now, you may wonder, what does Chroma Level even mean? Let me read to you what their description, Panasonic's own description of the Chroma Level setting. Adjust the Chroma Level. If you don't know what that means, this ain't going to help you. Barry Green has produced some of the best content regarding the HPX and the HVX and even the DVX and even the newer Panasonic cameras. If you want to find out something about these cameras, go watch his tutorials on YouTube, buy his DVDs, just whatever it takes. Watch them and just ingest them and just... They're the most helpful things because it explains everything in detail. It's really clear, it's well done, and at the time, anyway, I believe he was doing them. He wasn't even like contracted by Panasonic. He did this on his own dime.
Chroma Level is the next setting we're going to talk about. What this does, it controls the level of color saturation in the image. It ranges from -7 to +7. You can really see the difference very easily here on the monitor. At -7, it kind of drains the color out of the image. It doesn't go to black and white. You can't get all the way to black and white, but you can get some muted colors. And all the way at +7, you get very vibrant color saturation. Really jumps off the page.
So, don't bother with this shit, even though this is the HVX 200 manual. The menus are relatively the same. Don't bother with this shit, because they don't make it at all clear. Go online, watch the tutorials, do your own research about it, and if you think I'm wrong or I'm stupid, feel free to tell me. However, I have watched the Barry Green HVX bootcamp, I have done a lot of the reading, so a lot of the things I've adjusted in my scene files have been based on hours of just sat there staring at fucking black mirrors, just reading this stuff. Oh, Chroma Phase, or like, oh, V detail level and all that stuff. So, waste a couple of days, do some research about it because it is quite important, you know. And you really don't want a baked-in image that you can't adjust very well towards the end of your shooting. Anyway, enough of me just blabbering on like a fucking idiot. Let's just hop into the video and hopefully you can all enjoy. So here we are at the Panasonic HPX 170 or the 171, 172, whatever you want it to be. Now here come what I believe to be the most important things, which is detail level V, or V detail level, and detail coring. Detail level, if I refer to it in the manual, adjust the level of the image outline correction in the horizontal and vertical directions. Basically, it's sharpness. Now, you'd think, oh yes, you want that as high as possible, you want a sharp image. However, you really shouldn't have it anything above 3, maybe even 2. I had it at 7 once and it looks terrible. It's all in camera sharpening. It doesn't at all improve the resolution. It actually makes things look worse. I'm slowly getting to the point where I'm actually going to have both the V detail and the detail level at 0, maybe even go lower. I haven't got to that point yet. I still need to do some experiments with my cameras and just kind of figure out where I'm most comfortable with them. But just believe me on this, do not go above 3. Above 3, it looks fucking terrible. Just don't do it. Really, just don't do it. It looks awful. And you'll regret it because you can't really... If you want to bring up the sharpness in the image, do it in post-production, seriously, because if you do it in camera, that is baked in to the image, and there's not too many ways you can fix that. Detail coring, as I will now describe from the manual, adjust the level of noise reduction of the detail signal. Basically, if you go into the minus, you'll get a clearer image, but the noise will be more prevalent. And if you go into the plus, it will reduce the noise, but it kind of makes it a little bit soft. If I want to do noise reduction, I'll just do it in post. You know, a couple of years ago when these were first kind of built into cameras, noise reduction was a more difficult and oftentimes a very unreliable thing to do. However, with technology being as it is and how advanced it is, you really don't need to worry about, you know, getting rid of noise in camera. You can do it all in post and they do a far better job. So I tend to keep it at like -2. That's kind of a sweet spot, but I may look at kind of having that all the way down at about -7, maybe one day, so I can get the clearest image. Chroma level, again, just keep it on 0. This is very color oriented. Yeah, just keep this on 0. It's very color orientated. If you want to do any of the color stuff, just do it in post, because if you do it in camera and then you change your mind afterwards, you're gonna have a tougher time sorting it out and dealing with it. Seriously, just leave it. Chroma Phase, this is kind of like hue, I believe, and it's very, I mean, if you want to do like kind of creative in-camera stuff, then okay, cool, but again, most of this stuff you can do in editing in about 2 femtoseconds, so there's really no point. Now, color temperature A and B, now that's quite interesting because this is actually quite similar to how you get the golden look on the VX1000. You white balance the camera and then you go in and you can change the temperature of the image. So you can make it a bit colder or you can make it a little bit warmer. Now this can be handy, however you should be very careful with it because it's, let's say you have a cloudy day, all of a sudden your image is going to be going from quite a normal looking kind of a, not golden, but just a warm image to all of a sudden, it's fucking golden. My latest video that I put out, Glassy K-Way, the sun was just going in and out of the clouds and so the image was all over the place. I tried fixing it and I wasn't really happy with it and it was just taking way too long. So that's what those two are. Now here's another important one, master pedestal. This is basically the contrast of the image. The lower numbers, that means you've got a very contrasty image. As you can see here on the HPX, for some reason, you can go all the way up to like 100 and in minus and plus. I personally don't see any reason why you should be baking in any contrast in camera whatsoever. Because, well, A, if you do it and you change your mind, you're fucked. And B, if you do it and you change your mind, you're fucked. So for me personally, I'd rather have a flatter image, and then if I want to add contrast in post, that's what I'll do. I'm trying to make sure that this camera isn't going to be holding me back in any way, because I'd rather do it in post and say if I change my mind, I can just press Control Z or Command Z, and then there we go. The image is gone, instead of having it baked into the goddamn image. The amount of edits I've seen shot on these cameras and on HVXs or even DVXs where they've had their scene file really set up, quite in depth, and then they've tried color correcting it or grading it afterwards and it falls apart. It really does. It's not a raw image, it's compressed video. Okay, even if it is 100 megabits, full 2.2 and all that stuff, it's not like a raw image out of a camera or a cine camera. Don't bake things into the fucking image, please. It really upsets me. Hey, iris level. If you're on auto iris, you can tell it which way you want it to go. Do you want the image to be a bit brighter or a bit lower? But then again, you shouldn't be using auto iris. DRS, this is dynamic range shift, I believe. Now this is only available in the 60p and the 60i option. And what I believe it does is it shifts the shadows to a certain point so you can get a theoretical higher dynamic range. Doing so does introduce some noise, which for some people that's okay, for some it isn't. I haven't found, personally I haven't needed to use it so far, so I have just left it off. If there comes a situation where I feel like it could be Useful? Then sure, I'm going to use it. It's just a nice little thing to have in there. Now, gamma, here's another important one here. Use Cine Like D. There's no other reason, just use it. It gives you the most dynamic range, and I found it grades far better than Cine Like V, B Press High, and all the other ones. Say you want to match with a DVX for some reason, you'd use SD Norm. And say you don't want to even color grade, you could probably just whack it in HD Norm, and then there you go. But Cine Like D gives you far greater dynamic range, even though it's a very small amount, it gives you a bit more. And I believe Cine Like V gives you more image detail? I can't remember exactly. Barry Green has plenty of documentation online and all these videos. If you want more in-depth analysis of what these things actually do, go find his videos or buy one of his DVDs. So I just leave that like that. Auto on knee, because you know, can't change it. Matrix, I keep that on normal because as you can see, it does some weird stuff to the colours and I don't like that. Nice and normal for me. Skin tone detail, off. Turn it off. I believe it does softening to certain parts of the image. It softens what it thinks is skin colour. So as you can imagine, it's so unreliable. Just leave it off, don't bother. There are actually ways of doing it in editing now. And then the V detail frequency, I believe you can only change that in... Oh, you can only do it in 480i progressive mode. Okay, so that's pointless, you don't even need to touch that. Okay, and that is basically it. Like I said, I will be wrong about certain things, I will be right about certain things. I've been using the Panasonic Scene Files for quite a number of years now. I've done a lot of reading about them, and I've come to the decision that, for me, this is what works. Like I said before, hopefully that was somewhat helpful. Like I said, go online, do your own research and all that stuff. It's far better than the bloody manual they give you, and it's far better than any video I can make you. If anything, this should just be treated as an advertisement for Barry Green's DVDs. Anyway, if you want to send me a request, just leave a comment below, or, I don't know, follow me on Instagram and all that, you know, influencer, pusher, crap, and just, ugh, saying those words together, just disgusting. I've got a few videos coming up soon with the help of some other people, which will be quite good. I don't know, maybe I should make a video about the custom presets on the VX1000. I know Don Purdy and Beagle have made stuff about them, but maybe you want to hear it from a British accent. Don't know why, there's better stuff out there, but you know, apparently people like this sort of shit, so that's fine. Anyway, I'm going to go now and deep cleanse myself in bleach. I hope you all enjoy this. Hopefully it was somewhat helpful. And Barry Green, if you see this, I'd like some royalties. That's it from me, really. Yeah, thank you for watching. Okay, so my sound is actually on and I am actually recording. That's helpful.